What up, everybody? Welcome back to Nashville Unsigned, the news podcast. We are back covering all things digital and music news for the independent community. Get over to YouTube and Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or search the news.
Spotify.
Damn!
Ooh. I saw you counting over there.
Yeah.
No, there's 5.
Yeah,
there's 5.
Go ahead and just Google it.
Just go ahead and Google it. I had to stand up for that one. Google it. Googled it.
Google Plus.
Google it.
Googled it, just saying. So get on and download our previous episodes. Download this one. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe. We're over it already, okay? Our relationship should be official on YouTube.
We'll just commit.
Okay?
Just commit.
Let's just do it.
Yeah, hit that bell or whatever. You gotta subscribe and hit the bell for updates.
Ain't that the damn truth?
I watch too much YouTube.
Yeah, we all do.
So we're hanging out. I am Amber Stoneman. This is my business partner is Nick Brown.
What up, everybody?
Jared Rigsby.
Hey.
And Patrick Larney. And we are here to go over, of course, like anything, all resources that you guys need. Make sure you guys jump over to the site, www.nashvilleunsigned.com. Build your profile, network in our community, have access to what we've built for years. Also, we on the site, you'll find our digital magazine. You'll find label services, live events, syncing, and the largest independent music community in the city. So come be a part of it. Hang out with us. # join the movement.
Yeah,
you know the deal.
It's very beneficial for your band really to sign up because you get to put all your links on there.
Preach.
And then also it does show up in search engines. So it's a great way to build your credibility online.
Preach.
Signing up on Nashville Unsigned. Yeah.
Start that digital marketing streak.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So what are we talking about today, Amber?
Let's talk about nothing to do with the music industry. Let's talk about VR and robots all day. Just kidding.
I could do that.
Today, we're covering the thing that's hardest to come by in the music industry right now, and it's revenue streams.
Making that money.
Yes.
Make that money, honey. Can't be living on the streets.
Yeah.
Famous words of either Sir Mix-a-Lot or Quad City DJs. Don't know which one. So
we'll give it to both.
comment, prove me wrong.
It's just true. It's just true.
Step 2 of every process. Figure out how you're going to make some money doing it.
Yeah.
Step 1, figure out something you like to do.
Yeah, figure out something you like to do first.
And now we're here.
Yeah, so it's probably music in your case.
Yeah.
And then now we're on step 2.
If it's not, you should get out now.
Yeah.
Just get out now. Create a board game. Call it a day.
Yeah, it could work.
Dreams
Kickstarter.
of revenue, I think, is one of the most confusing knots to untie. I think the idea itself is can blow some minds when you're like, oh yeah, multiple streams of revenue. I have to do multiple things. I can't just sell my music. Unfortunately, to the chagrin of all of us, it's not just as easy as buy my music. Thanks for your money. You kind of have to think outside the box as a musician and in this market here. So, which is why I think diversifying is such an important aspect to bring to the table. Not only does it give you more chances to make just more money, period, but it helps you find that one thing that you really shine at. Like, I'm a Spotify artist, or I got found on Bandcamp and now I'm famous. So you gotta have to find, figure some stuff out. And
I mean,
part of the process.
It's a business. So you are a business. And I think that's the thing we continue to reiterate to you guys is your band is a business. And in business, you are going to have multiple revenue streams if you want to be successful. And right now, I know artists are like, okay, it's music. Music is my revenue stream. Well, no, it's not. It's your marketing strategy, actually. That's the only way you're kind of getting your name, your brand out there.
It's your business card.
Music streaming, only 1% of artists on Spotify actually make a living from royalties. So that says a lot. That should be the thing that you take away from this, is that do not bank on Spotify to pay your bills, or now iTunes, because now that model is completely changing.
Oh, yeah.
AKA Apple Music. But 1% of artists on Spotify make a living from their royalties.
Yeah, I really feel like in the past couple of years, we've really had a big turning point as far as, creators putting things online and being able to, make a serious profit off of it.
Yeah.
YouTube being the biggest thing here lately. I mean, like, there's so many ways in which people are not making money off of YouTube. It's almost funny that 10 years ago, it was all about, hey, upload your content. You can make some money on YouTube. That was like the motivator to get people to put it on there.
Yeah.
Now it ain't like that at all.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of like market. It's another social media platform.
So,
Now it's basically a selfie.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, it's like an entry point for people to be able to easily find it because everybody uses YouTube right now.
I mean, you can there is still monetization in YouTube, but it's not, you can't bank on it anymore.
Yeah.
You used to be able to bank on it, but
Yeah.
it is still a stream and it's still something to think about if you're not currently monetizing your YouTube and you have enough subscribers to be able to do that. But you definitely need to look into more than YouTube and more than royalties on your music.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're really going to consider what has the highest margins, so, you really want to think about some margins on this. Do you want to push a ton of stuff or do you want to be able to make more money off of, having to do less work, really? So, as far as your own merchandise, you can get some great margins on that as comparisons to, fishing for millions of YouTube views.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
I mean, you could sell 10 T-shirts, and then, make way more than you would with, a couple 100,000 views on YouTube.
Yeah, I heard the other day, I thought this was really interesting. If you sell one CD for $10, it's the same thing as 800,000 streams on Spotify.
Yeah.
800,000.
Wow.
So
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if those numbers are accurate, but it sure is a whole heck. $10 is...
Yeah.
But the difference is
Might be 80,000.
the 800,000 people that you just hit, or say that half of those people streamed it 2 times. And, the 400,000 people that you hit then told one person about your brand. So you could go after the $10 or you could go after the marketing that could in turn grant you a lot more money from a lot more streams.
It's
Or
and
both.
maybe a lot faster.
Multiple
as well.
streams. Streams, right?
Crossing streams already. What's interesting about that is there's one of my favorite podcasts to listen to is Joe Rogan's podcast, which a lot of
shout
people,
out Casey, our producer, also loves that podcast.
Yeah. It's a very popular podcast, for a lot of reasons. But I think what's interesting and what's funny about it is I don't feel like he actually makes his money from the podcast itself. He obviously loves doing it, but he's a touring comedian. And that man, since his podcast has gotten popular, he just sells out left and right.
Yeah.
He was much bigger maybe back in like the early 2000s, I think.
This guy did the donut thing, right?
The Fear Factor. Like a Fear Factor was his original kind of like where he kind of took off from there. But he's been doing podcasting for a while and he's still a comedian. He's still a working comedian. But taking from the music standpoint, music and comedy share a lot in common like that. Mm-hmm. And like what she's saying, if that 800,000, 400,000 people, like if you actually got that many streams, there's a solid percentage of those people that want to come see you live. So I think it goes...
And they're not going to come by themselves.
Right. They're going to drag their friends along. But it comes along with the whole, I think, an organic strategy of hitting all these different angles because you never know how they're going to fit in to each other, how they help each other out. Like we at Nashville Unsigned, we're like throwing shows, we're releasing material, we're writing material, we're hitting things from everywhere we can.
Every angle.
Yeah. And it plays off each other. And I think that's
so in music, again, your music should be the way that you're marketing yourself. An entrepreneur, the networking thing, that's my job. And so I'm out networking all the time. Do I get paid for it? No. But does it benefit the business in the long run? Absolutely. Our brand has created relationships and partnerships like Reverb Nation. Shout out, guys. Craig Snyder. Shout out to Ian from Fox. And these really great relationships that we've built. And did we get paid to go out and network with these people? No, we did not. We knew that it was going to progress us forward. Mm-hmm. So therefore, we jumped in and networked, and we knew that was our marketing. So your music is your marketing. So let's set the precedence of revenue revenue today by saying, yes, you'll get a very small percentage from royalties, but your revenue is going to come from a million other places, and your music is your marketing. That's just what it is.
Let's talk about the kind of the next step. Right, we talked a little bit about the streaming royalties and how that can affect your touring schedule and how many people will show up to your tours, and you can ask for more money in the future tours. But I think another segue from that, like what you're talking about, is endorsement deals.
Endorsements,
I think that's a solid. Yeah, go. Sorry.
No. I think endorsements and sponsorships. Before, I think that's great. I think a lot of artists are not doing that, especially independent artists, because they're not quite sure how to get in on that. Get on LinkedIn. I said this before, and I'll say it again. Get on LinkedIn and find the marketing director in whichever brand that you wear or use or whatever. Sinclair has really awesome tennis shoes all the time. So, like hit up Nike or Reebok or whatever. And then that's going to be something that plays into your brand. So I definitely think endorsements and sponsorships. But before you can get that, they want to see that you have a following. So that is definitely a place that you can get revenue. I think before that, it would even go into you're building your fan base. It's what you're doing right now already. It's your job. Your number one job is to build your fan base digitally. I run Nashville Unsigned alongside, or social media alongside Austin. Shout out Austin. One of our team members.
Okay.
But what we see a lot of is every single artist that we work with in our alumni has a big following. So then you have to start thinking, first and foremost, even before you go play any shows, if whatever following that you have, you just work it and increase that engagement. And then you start pitching, your management starts pitching to brands about even putting paid advertisements inside of your socials. Like that's something that is rarely used. It's brand new. Social influencer marketing, Google it. It's a thing. And with you guys having such a large fan base, it's a really, really good first place to start alongside shows.
Yeah, I think like who are the friends of your brand, right? Because there's probably partnership opportunities there. If you have a demographic at all, which is to say that you have a brand, right? Then there are companies that want access to that filter that you've been working on, because if there's 100 people and 10 of them give a shit about country, traditional country, well, then you've got the 10 people. Well, that's 100% of your brand. So if Cracker Barrel wants to sell to people who give, shit about traditional country, then that's 100% of the people that are within your following, right?
Totally.
And so I think partnerships are really a great form of revenue. Now, you're trying to change your budget. Remember that revenue is not just money coming in, but it's also money not going out, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so, because that's money that you would have been spending, right? Yeah. And so, like just recently, a band that I managed got an endorsement from Shure microphones. Well, they would have had to buy those microphones at some point, right? Or buy, some of the things that now Shure has presented to us because they recognize that our market, it'll be an advertisement for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sponsorships, even though you might not be getting money, and I'm not saying don't ask for it. If you've got a big enough following, heck yeah, like lay down and, and bet on it, you know? But if it can erase part of your budget, you should still kind of consider it revenue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think of like visual presence as well. When I think of social media networks that kind of cater to this the best, I think of Instagram, right? I think of like models I've seen on Instagram are just like...
Sorry.
like
I'm like
actors,
Instagram models.
But totally, that's how Instagram models...
Make money.
Monetize. The smart ones.
You can choose to show your butt cheeks or whatever, but you need a solid image. And I think it kind of goes along with your brand. And I think you can utilize that. Like you're talking about Sinclair's shoes. That's kind of a part of her image. That's like, a deal with her. When you see her and you see her style, that sticks out to you. Yeah. So that's why it's like a shoe company.
Or Kenny Foster's boot line.
Yeah.
Right. So like whatever makes sense. like, of course, Sinclair's not going to come out with boots. It's not going to make sense to a brand. It just doesn't make sense. But as you scale your revenue, you do want to start looking at, like, you know, like me, I wear combat boots all the time. So if I were to be like some sort of paid, which I should start charging for my socials because they balling right now. But if I would sync up with Roxy Boots and talk to them about like what if you don't have a media kit together, you don't have any leg to stand on, really. They need to know what your reach looks like and your engagement. That's what they're actually paying for. Their advertisement dollars don't serve a purpose on billboards anymore, and they don't serve a purpose as a commercial anymore, and they don't serve a purpose on radio. And so now they're looking for other ways, such as podcasts. Hit us up if you guys want to drop some product in.
Yeah.
But yeah, such as, you know, like anything that you're doing, even if you're, you know, Daphne Willis does stuff like that all the time. She has different brands pop in product placement for your live streams in your living room, you know, whatever. There are a ton of different ways, you know, and sponsorships and endorsements is a big one.
Yeah.
So I think alongside that, you do have to have a media kit in place.
Yeah.
Because you won't ever pitch to them without it.
Well, I think that shows that you're organized as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you can roll that across a bunch of different streams of revenue. And I know that you guys all have some, and I have some that I'd love to share. First thing is, you know, be creative about taking a piece of the money that is being generated around you. I used to manage this band back in New York City some 10 years ago, and they were a band that the brand was Cosmo Country. This was before country kind of crossed over, and we called it Cosmo Country, which basically meant it was country music for the urban ear, right?
Okay.
Well, we started selling out these shows. We were doing what do you call it when you play the same place all the time, Amber? Residency. I know it started with an R. Thank you. Ding, ding, ding. So we had this residency at this place, and we were selling it out every single night. Well, it was a bar. So we started to think to ourselves, like, what money is being generated around us? Well, we're in a bar, so alcohol. So what we did is we approached the bar and said, hey, bar, like, we know that we're making, you know, whatever, $600 on the night for this, right? But you're also making money on drinks. So what if we do this? What if we make little table tents, and we make, instead of Cosmo Country, which everybody knew that word, what if we make the country Cosmo? And then we promote it from the stage. And when people go to buy the drink from the bar, you put a hashtag down for $10, and then we take 2.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what ended up happening is that, you know, after 3 or 4 drinks, the people that were in the audience were like, hey, I'm going to try out that country Cosmo. And then, of course, they were like, it's amazing. And all it was like Firefly whiskey rather than like something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in doing that, the table tents cost us nothing, right? Because we printed up a bunch, cut them, and put them all over the tables. And then we promoted it from the stage. But we started to take some of the money that was being made around us. And I think that you have to kind of turn your ear towards like, or your eye towards like, where is that happening, and how can I to rake in some more of that money that's circulating around me?
Yeah, that's true. It's interesting because it brings your ability to make money outside of the music realm. Like there are like materials that need to be sold that are just goods, just basic market stuff that you can implement within your musical career. That like you said, like that it's a good chunk of change.
Yeah, and again,
it's outside the box.
You're a brand. You're a brand, and so a brand sells a lot of different things, has a lot of different revenue streams. And so that's imperative for you guys to have as well. Something we haven't touched on yet, Patreon. Like Patreon is a fantastic revenue stream. It allows people that believe in your project. We talked about your fans, but it allows your fans to buy in $20 a month, direct like withdraw from their account each month to get exclusive content or just because they believe in you. And so I think Patreon is just now starting to become hip in the underground scene right now, outside of your typical crowdfunding like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or even a GoFundMe. But Patreon is definitely more creative centric, and they actually, it's kind of your new age subscription to your magazine, you know, like, and that's what it is. And it's a consistent, guaranteed revenue stream as you build it. I mean, it'll only get higher and higher, and you're creating content anyways.
Yeah, and think about your assets as well. You know, knowledge is worth something. There is always someone who is where you were, right? So what can you teach? You know, what can somebody, you know, learn from you that you already know? I mean, well, if you're a musician, what about lessons? You know, you've got people out there that are now where you were once, and you've got that knowledge base that you're just applying. But hey, what if you applied it to somebody who's, you know, looking up to you and giving some lessons? It's practice, you're refining yourself, but it's also another revenue stream, right?
Yeah.
I think that you have to remember that instead of just making $100 from one guy, if you can make $10 from 10 people, like, why not? So diversify is just really, really important.
Yeah. And I think too, it's like traffic coming into a brick and mortar store. You're going for the highest conversion rate. You know, you get, 100 people that come in and your conversion's 20%. That means you converted 2 out of 10. So each time your milestone should be to convert. You got traffic coming into your site and traffic coming into your socials. So you should start monitoring analytics around, and it's all easily accessible, but around conversion. Like, what are you doing? Are you converting those fans to a GoFundMe or to a Patreon or to merch? And it's first starting out with one thing to sell them and then scaling out from there. But I do like the fact, because I was going to piggyback on what you said, like, what else are you good at? Like, what else are you good at? Are you good at singing? Yeah, obviously, because you are in a band. So go sing on other people's demos. Like, that's going to make you money.
Right.
I don't know how many times Kinsey Lewis from Class 1 has taken that beautiful, amazing voice and has made a lot of money of just singing demos for other people.
Yeah.
So a great way to also monetize is to still find out what you're good at between teaching, classes, consulting, consulting other artists, younger artists.
Yeah.
That's another way.
I think the goal is really to make sure you're moving in one direction. It's really difficult when you have something completely different from your career taking up a lot of your time, and then you trying to put time into switching gears and just doing something else, right? If you can make a livable wage making your music, you can just grow from there. And then all of your effort is going into one place, and it's expanding you as a career. But I think, especially starting off, you're going to need as many sources to make like that money so that you can focus on that one thing and just push that one thing.
Right. And I also think that, like, there's money to be made in everything that you're doing. I mean, if you're a musician, you have to practice. You have to play through your songs and whatever, right? You decide, Tuesday and Thursday night, I'm going to stay home and I'm going to practice my stuff, right? So let's say you're practicing for 4 hours. Maybe the last hour of that should be, one of these online, Stage It is one you can look at. These like online concerts, Concert Window, Facebook Live. There's a girl that I met in New York. I think she lives in Nashville now, but her name is Liz Longley. And Liz Longley got in on the Concert Window thing and said, hey, there's a community there. There's traffic there. There's something that's, going through Concert Window all the time. So if I spend, 2 times in a month, I go in there and put on an hour concert, like, I'm going to start to build it. And then they're going to follow me. And then next time we do it, right? And it's interesting the way that Concert Window has it set it up, because they have it set up so that you can put in, people, just like Kickstarter has like incentives or whatever. You make a donation of $2 to watch the show, if you will, right? But then on the side, just like Kickstarter, there's incentive platforms. So you can sell, hey, this song that I'm playing right now, you can buy the single for this, or you can buy the record, or if you want the T-shirt, or if you want a signed thing, or whatever those tiers used to be. Now it's live, right? And then it's pretty awesome, because the other thing is it like when somebody buys something, it'll like put their name up on the screen, like whatever. So there's that ego thing in it as well. And, but you would have been playing that hour anyway, right? So monetize it,
right? What was a good example of exactly what you're talking about is one of our bands, My Politic. They funded a whole album off of, what was it, Kickstarter
Yeah.
they used?
Yeah.
Yeah. They got a solid amount of money to make an album because, like, there's your Kickstarter. Like, we want to make an album. This is our featured song or whatever. You have your music video up front, and you can get people to pre-order an actual album and do it that way.
Yeah.
You know, and we've seen it done. We've seen that exact thing done successfully.
And one of the go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, just keep talking, Patrick. Just keep talking. That's kidding.
So this vocal coach in town named Wendy Parr made a suggestion to the Young Fables and said, hey, instead of selling your CDs for $10, just how much does it cost you to print a CD after you've ordered the whole thing? Well, you're going to pay about 30 to 40 cents per CD or whatever. It's like, so even if you're making $5, like, you're making a considerable profit off of that, right? What she suggested was when they play out live, instead of saying $10 for a CD, saying if you want the music, we want you to have it. Just donation. Whatever donation you want, drop it in the bucket, take a CD. And that stops the guy who doesn't have any money in the back of the room but really loves the music and might, have the potential of spreading that to 10 other people. He walks out with a CD. But the other part of that is that there's a lot of people in the room that are buying into you, and that's why they want the $10. They drop $20 in there because they believe in you. And I am telling you, we found that asking that way, we made more money than if we had said $10.
And it's a whole nother tax class.
Nice.
We're not exactly
donations.
1%ers over here yet.
They're definitely donations.
Donation strictly. Okay, so here's my thing. So I think, we're talking about all these different revenue streams. We're talking about, sponsorships and endorsements and getting real out of the box, creative, monetizing drinks at a bar. That's some really cool stuff, thinking outside the box. But honestly, I think that the merchandise is the cornerstone.
I think so.
I think, all these things are great and setting up all the streams, but I wouldn't be so concerned about these other streams if you hadn't set up your merchandise already. And really that just comes down to, if you have an idea of how many people are listening to your music right now, if you can figure out a percentage of those people to sell something to that would enjoy it. And it's what we were saying about the margins on a physical product, being able to, brand it and then sell it to these people in a specific context that actually meets their needs, then, you're going to be making so much more money per, in comparison to the work involved compared to some of these other things. So I really think the first thing that you need to be concerned about is getting, something creative and, establishing your audience, but then figuring out a physical product that meets their needs. And
Pain point, yeah.
And it plays into your brand too.
And,
so meets their needs and plays into your brand.
one thing that I've seen more into the creative vein of it is, they're essentially giving away their merchandise. All they're asking is that you help with shipping. So, they're pushing tons of product and, the people are technically getting it for free, but they're just paying for the shipping to get it, to their home. And typically, just like a CD and a poster and, then you get their physical address and their email address. And, depending on how you're shipping it, you could still pull in some dough off of that shipping. So,
right.
I think that's the cornerstone though, is getting some physical product into your your fans' hands.
I think with that idea, the thing about it is that you're breaking even on the shipping costs, but what you've done is you've acquired the information that you can remarket to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the name of that platform again? You were talking about before.
I've encountered a pretty good amount of bands, but they use it's kind of you've heard of like Wix and all these different like site. What you see, what you get, site editors, typically they're not good. They're garbage, actually. But there's, they're user friendly. They may not be the most optimum. If you actually have someone that does like your web development and your web design, you're better off just asking them, hey, can we have a landing page that, is basically a funnel for getting and, acquiring email addresses, contact information, leads, selling product, whatever. But if you don't have a website yet, you don't have a web developer, go get one. But before you do that, you can try
We
out
have one.
You can try out this click funnel. It's called a click funnel.
Yeah.
And it's basically just a one page. I'm pretty sure they charge you on a monthly basis to keep this thing up there. But it's pretty much everything's set up for you, and you can make yourself a
click funnel.
a not very attractive but mildly effective landing page.
Yeah. A usable landing page.
Yeah.
So as far as merch is concerned, there are facilities around Nashville. Some go, some come, some go. But
Some just go.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Find your facility. Google is a fantastic resource. Find your facility that you need to print your merch. Be realistic. Like, make sure you're buying. I mean, let's just be honest. If you have you kind of have a gist of your demographic by the people that like your stuff. And be really honest about like what sizes you should get or what styles you should get. So really, really know your audience before you drop money into your merch, because you may or may not move it. Then market your merch, like what you were saying.
Yeah, and as far as a common thing that people do is T-shirts. All right, so
what kind of T-shirt you got on there?
Well,
Nick?
it's actually a very comfortable Nashville Unsigned T-shirt.
Nice.
These things are so freaking comfy. But here's the thing. So, if you haven't done merch before, if you haven't done shirts and all that sort of thing, then a good price point to look at on a T-shirt for a good quality T-shirt, maybe 2 colors, something like that, but it's like $7. So $7 and lower is what you would expect to pay on, a good T-shirt, depending on how, how many you order at once. But you turn around, you sell that for $15. You could even slap free shipping on that. I mean, you're getting some money coming in that way.
Yeah. I've seen people sell easily for $20,
Yeah.
Shows and stuff.
Yeah.
$20,
And I think that one of the really important things that I have learned about merchandise, because I had it all wrong. I thought to myself, let's go in, make the best designed T-shirt, and then let's go out there and put it out there.
Oh, yeah.
And, there's a thing that goes on psychologically with a buyer. When they walk to a table, they want to make a decision. If the decision is one T-shirt, the decision that they're making is, do I want to buy the T-shirt or don't I want to buy the T-shirt, right? One of those options is not okay, right? Now, if you have 5 different T-shirts, the decision in the mind is which one do I want to buy, right? And, you might think to yourself, well, it's going to cost money more for screens and stuff like that. Not necessarily. Same design, same ink, different color T-shirt. Design something that you can have a blue and a gray and a red, and it doesn't cost you any more, because when you talk to the merchandising company, you're saying to them, hey, they say, what T-shirts do you want to print this on? It's the same price for 50 T-shirts of black as it is for 20, and 10 of different colors. Now, you might charge a different. I think Richards and Southern is a great merchandising company here in town. They charge a $10 what do you call it? So screening fee or something like that to change ink.
Oh yeah.
So if you wanted to get a black T-shirt and a white T-shirt and swap the color, because obviously you can't print white on a white T-shirt.
Well, they got to clean the screen out too in between.
Right, exactly. But $10, come on, that's nothing. And then that's when you start getting into testing your merchandising lines. Now you're paying attention. What's going out the door? And like Amber said, what are the sizes of T-shirts? If you're the fat boys, probably get some XXXs.
Well, you should be monitoring. You should have a test cycle. And with that test cycle, you should be monitoring what sizes you're selling the most of. We realized with Nashville Unsigned, we sold a lot of larges and extra larges for men's, and we didn't sell many mediums and smalls. So next time we know that we need to bulk up in the extra large and large category and skim on the other two. So track the data of what you're selling. That's really important. But then let's talk about this. Like when I'm at a concert, more than likely it's not just your one band, it's several bands, and they all have merch. So what differentiates your music? Like, that's great. I just heard a lot of music that's really great because this is Nashville, but what differentiates your merch versus somebody else's merch? And a great example of that is the band Her, Class 1, literally spent time fraying the neckline, fraying the bottom part of the shirt, and really making it rock and roll to suit the brand. I can say when I shopped the merch, when I went past every table, I was really taken aback by her product and the detail that she put into it. And then, of course, like, she had them on hanging mannequins and she had Christmas lights around. So she actually your product isn't going to sell. Like even if you have 5 different colored T-shirts or whatever in the best quality that you can get, if it's just hanging out there in the display, visual merchandising world, that's fine.
Yeah,
Here.
100%.
But if it's not displayed and if it doesn't have character, I really want like if I'm buying a band T-shirt and those are in right now, I want to have character. Like cut the sleeves off or show me different ways that I can wear it. Sacrifice one of your T-shirts and cut it up a little bit and put it on a mannequin. Show me some things that I can do with it. Whatever is in trend. If you're selling apparel, you have to know what's in trend.
Nice.
Yeah.
Whether you're just printing a T-shirt or not. Cut the bottom off and crop top it because we're going into spring and summer. So know what you're going into as far as merch. You have to be an apparel master.
Yeah, and I also think that the presentation of it is really important. Tom Jackson, shout out Tom Jackson.
Love you, Tom. Partners.
Fantastic guy. He wrote a book called The Live Music Method, and it talks about how to make money from live performance. But one of the things that he said is he's like, at your show, are you selling T-shirts to the ceiling? Which basically meant, are you taking your T-shirt and putting it flat on a table and showing it to the ceiling? You're trying to sell a T-shirt to the ceiling. Ceiling doesn't have a lot of money, right? So the other thing is take care of it, right? I mean, you look at Apple's model, right? Who throws away their iPhone box? Nobody. We all kept it. Why did we keep it? Because it was designed nicely. It was presented nicely, right? So, I mean,
I felt like it had important stuff in there I couldn't throw away. There's like a warranty tape in there that I just couldn't throw away.
Those things break all the time, so I want to save this so I can return it. No, but what I'm saying is that the presentation of it, imagine this, right? You've got a T-shirt that's sitting in a box, right? Just kind of thrown in there, and then somebody's rummaging through the box to pull out one, and you're just a number, right? What is the perception of that? Or what is the perception of, and this might be way over the top, but what is the perception about taking that T-shirt, taking all the other T-shirts, putting them underneath the table, but the one that's on your table is in a shadow box, right? And it makes it look like it's worth more. If you care about it, and like Amber said, the details, there's this saying that I totally don't agree with, that is that the devil is in the details. I believe that the angels are in the details, and that is where things are going to sell, right? So take your time. I mean, just recently with the band that I work with, we took the T-shirts and instead of just putting them there, we rolled them up and then we cuffed them with corrugated cardboard and tied it with baler twine because they're a country band, right? And so 2 things happened there. Number 1, there was care in the product. But number 2, nothing will chase away a customer quicker than a long line. And if you have to dig through a box, man, you're losing people because they go, I'll get it next show. Yeah. No, but if you've got them rolled up and there's an L on it for large and an M on it for medium, and you're just bang, bang, bang,
slap
bang,
them
bang.
right in the face.
That's right.
Ow.
Boom.
Right there.
Hey, go back. We'll throw it like football
T-shirts,
style
got your
or whatever.
T-shirts.
Back of the line. Back of the peanuts
Like a
here.
T-shirt gun.
Yeah.
How awesome would
I took out a kid. I'm sorry. Here, I'll pay you for that T-shirt.
Free T-shirt.
But yeah, I
hope you get shot
definitely
with
think how do we equip you guys with the ability to do this on your own? Pinterest is a beautiful beast.
Oh.
And you can figure it out on Pinterest. And yeah, you may not be a country band and that may not work for you. You need to go on Pinterest and figure out what does work for you. You also need to, if you haven't you should be you're going to sell more merch than anything. So you probably need to get online, go to Coursera.org and take a visual merchandising class. I'm telling you, it'll only take you 2 hours and it's well worth your time because again, you're going to sell more merch than anything and we can't coach you through the process. And if you do or do not have a manager, they may not be able to coach you through the process. So you just got to equip yourself with the right resources to be able to knock it out on your own.
I recommend shopping around locally, more so than going online. If there's a ton of
Cool displays,
promo manufacturing, and then also like printing companies, and all these different places that you can get merchandise from, and specifically locally, because you can save on the shipping costs, and then also if you go in and meet with them and talk with them,
get a sponsorship.
As long as you're not just unpleasant, then you can probably end up with a better deal than you would get online.
Yeah, it was really interesting. There was a band, that just kind of looking around and seeing like what are people using and what are the pain points and what are the things here. And there's these things called pop sockets, right? And you put them on the back of your phone. So
Like fidget spinners.
Yeah, basically, right?
Like,
and these pop sockets, they, found them at a yard sale. They found a whole bag of them or whatever, and they picked up the pop sockets, and then they had stickers printed that was the same diameter of it, and they put them on the top on the pop sockets, and they sold tons of them. And lo and behold, now today it's like, you know, t-shirt, koozie, and now bands are starting to do pop sockets. And there's places online that are saying, hey, you know, get your custom pop sockets now. But like, what are the things that people are buying around you? If you, you know, like Amber said with Sinclair and shoes, well, like, go to a Sinclair concert. You know, the collective worth of the shoes of the audience members is probably through the roof because it's like a thing in her brand, right? So look at the people that are there and their demographic. What are they wearing? You
and
know,
more than likely, they're mimicking what you're wearing. So
exactly.
It's probably quicker just to go with what you're wearing, you know, and figure out what brands are catering to your brand. And then that's where selling of social media advertisement would come in.
It's your image.
That's where partnership would come in. You know, they may be like, hey, we'll run Michael Jordan when he first got into tennis shoes. They're like, Nike's like, hey, we'll run some dual partnership with you and we'll create a shoe because it just makes sense because you're wearing tennis shoes when you're playing basketball. So we'll create a partnership and cut you in on this and you'll be making money off half these tennis shoe sales.
I'm from the north, so the tennis shoe, I'm like, wait, he was wearing tennis shoes? Because we just call them sneakers.
You mean sneakers?
You know? And
I'm from the South.
I know, and then somebody said to me,
in
they're like,
Nashville.
you're not playing tennis with them. And they're like, well, you're not sneaking around in it.
I've had that
Nice.
exact conversation.
Dad joke.
At work.
Dad joke.
I have some northern friends that I work with, and we went and saw Black Panther together. And there was that joke about sneakers.
Right.
I'm like, I told you they were sneakers.
Perfect timing.
Yep.
So another thing we've kind of brushed on, we're monetizing your shows, and of course you've got tips and you've got places that have budgets, and then a couple of things to think about as well are corporate events. That is something that also pays. Universities pay for shows. They love the younger demographic because it pertains to the university's demographic. So that's another good one. Organizations throw events all the time and they have budgets for shows. And then let us not forget the beautiful little social media pieces of Instagram and Facebook, although the scrutiny that they're under right now isn't positive for them. But you guys all have Venmo or PayPal. You get on a live stream on Facebook or Instagram and you throw your Venmo or PayPal up there for people to actually give you money to do what you're doing live that they would have, you know, or doing the live stream in your living room that you would have done as a show anyways. So you can still make money off of that. That's something to also think about. But there are a lot of different ways in shows that you can make that happen. You can also bring in branded sponsors for your shows. We do that. As artists, you can also do that. It's just, again, knowing what brands would be attracted to what you're doing. A lot of the times, if you're in a bar or a venue, a liquor or beer brand would want to get involved because that's a quick turnaround sale for them. So that's also something to think about. But shows is definitely another way that you can monetize your brand and pull in extra revenue. And those are a bunch of different ways you can do shows.
Hey, I've got a question for you, Amber. And I'll probably have to catch up with you later because I don't think you want to go into describing this right now. But on the social side, I do know that in Snapchat, you can swipe up to go to a certain, right, directly to your store or something like that.
Or to any URL.
Yeah, but URL. I think I just saw one the other day on Instagram.
10,000 followers.
10,000 followers or a check mark. Like you have to be verified.
You have to have the little tag or whatever.
You either have to have a blue check mark. You can be under 10,000 if you have a verified check. So you can swipe up. And if not, then you have to be at least 10,000 to be able to swipe
Well, I guess what I'm talking about is I saw the other day, it was an Instagram, and as I was scrolling through, when the Instagram photo came up, there was like a little price tag right in the
that
picture.
actually just changed. If you guys get on, socialmediaexaminer.com or
I had that page.
Yes.
I was Googling it earlier.
Yes,
Really, like,
socialmediaexaminer.com actually just covered this. It's a brand new feature on Instagram, and it'll give you all the information and all the knowledge about how this works, and they actually step you through the entire process. I mean, they dumb
And where
it
does
down.
the money come from, though? Does it go through them and they take a percentage of it? Or?
It's from your shop. And no, everything runs through. They don't take anything.
No, nice.
They don't take anything from it.
Beautiful.
And more.
Did you say it was Instagram?
More details are in socialmediaexaminer.com. And I also think that Hootsuite's blog also covered this because they're both really on top of new features. I think that you should get on the newsletter because it will definitely help with keeping you in the know. Like, we knew about split screen live stream interviews before it came out. So if you go live from, also a cool way to engage with your fans. But if you go live from Facebook, Instagram, you can now request, if you're inside the room, you can request to split screen with the host. And at that point, you can actually interview and question your fans and have your fans sharing a screen with you at the same time. Again, Social Media Examiner and Hootsuite blog they gave that to us a month before it came out. So
there's another place where you can learn a whole bunch of this stuff. Nashville Unsigned podcast.
Oh,
yeah. Because Amber is always ahead of everything, like 6 months ahead of everything.
I just gave you guys my secret.
All of them.
So blade, delete. delete that shit out right now. But I guess a couple other things, because I know that we're crunching on some time right now. We haven't really covered this a lot, but we're seeing this more. We're seeing this so much with our alumni right now. Is publishing, sync, and licensing. Film and TV. I cannot tell you, since we have started to get into this world, and if you are interested in learning more about it through Nashville Unsigned, we are doing syncing and licensing for independent artists right now, which is really cool because the producer of the film or TV show wants to cut their budget, and the artist wants to make money. Well, the beautiful thing about an independent artist is you just cut out a shit ton of people that you have to pay out. So the production company is cutting cost. They're happy. The artist is getting paid a lump sum for that sync. They're happy. And
the movie is being branded with music discovery as well. Like, I mean, we all know the OC, but it really isn't because it was the most amazing TV
they had
program.
emerging music.
They had emerging music like crazy.
A lot of music broke out from the OC and Dawson's Creek and One Tree Hill and
that California song.
All those Screen Gym studios out in Wilmington, North Carolina. Shout out. But yeah, I mean, even Netflix. Netflix does originals all the time. They do original films, and you see it more than ever, original TV shows. Well, more than likely, if you go and watch any of those, they're not syncing super popular music you hear on the radio right now. They're not doing it because they're kind of the indie version of film and TV. So it's definitely, there are some processes that you need to go to make sure that your shit's syncable. And of course, it's production. Make sure that you are working with producers that know the game in that aspect, if not a publishing company that also has their feet on the ground. Right,
and your mastering has to be at broadcast quality or you're just out of the game no matter how good the product is.
Yeah.
Or the song. Yeah.
That is something very important to think about. And there are also people that pitch that. So more than likely, you're not going to go straight into the producer. You're going to talk to music supervisors is typically what they're called, that we have done before. Oh. By the way. Oh, my God. But music supervisors are kind of the people that you want to go after to be able to get your music into the hands of the right people. Casey had a question.
Yeah, I have a question.
Casey, our producer.
Casey Shaheen, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
All right, so before we get out of here, there we go. So I want to know, before we go, I'm going to point to each of you and ask you, what is the best way to implement, like the best thing that an artist can implement right now, in your opinion? So personal opinion, what is the best thing that an emerging artist can do to start making money, let's say in 90 days? Nick. I have your mic.
Sign language, Nick.
We'll just go down the
He's
line.
like, how am I supposed to do this with no mic? I mean, I have a loud voice and all, but come on, bro.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the merchandise. Typically I do recommend like a 90-day timeline. When you start a project, I think we mentioned this at the beginning of either this episode or the last episode, but step one is figuring out what you want to do. Step two is figure out how you're going to make some money doing that. So, you know, I really recommend going with the merchandise avenue. You know, it's easy to get into. If even with just like $200 to $400, you know, you can buy some, you know, for example, t-shirts. You know, flip those into, you know, then you got $400-800. You know, it's, you know, however much you put into it, you can keep rolling that, and then, you know, develop yourself into, you know, a great profit position. You know, beyond that, everything else is icing on the cake after you get, you know, your main cake with the merch money.
Merch
cake.
I would definitely say that you can do immediately. You can do in 90 days. It'll start out trickling in, and then it'll be much larger in 90 days. Patreon. I think that you got to get up like yesterday. You have to start building out an account, Google it, research how this works, look at other influencers in Patreon and see how they've conjured up their packages. I think that that's number one. And two, what you can do right now is get on your Facebook, get on your Instagram, go live, and have them tip you in your Venmo. Like, so I think that that's some ways that you can make money yesterday.
Casey, I'm going to say screw your question. Build your audience for 90 days and then worry about making money.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one.
I'm gonna
Casey, I love you.
I'm gonna agree with Amber. There's, you know, t-shirts are great, but you have to, you know, depending on where you are in your career, do you already have a following or do you not have a following? If you don't have a following, well, you can print a bunch of t-shirts, but then it's sitting in, you know, inventory and you've now lost money. And I think that everybody has a mom, everybody has a dad, everybody has an uncle, everybody has a college roommate and whatever. And if you go after those people and try to get them, it's basically a pre-order. So you're not putting anything forth to make money right off the bat. But man, if you're doing that, please deliver. Just deliver. You got to deliver.
Execution.
Well, thank you guys for giving us your time. You can give us your money. We'll put our Venmo in the comments. So you guys are more than welcome to pay for this.
Hi, Mom.
But yeah, we love you guys. Come to our events. Hang out with us. Network. Join the movement.
Yeah.
NashvilleUnsigned.com. Thank you, Onino.
Sign up and send us a message. Tell us what you think about the episodes.
Give us your email.
You know, we love feedback. So
Feedback,
Good luck.
man.
Go get them Benjamins.
Make it rain. Gotta make that money, honey. Can't be living on the streets. Thank you, Onino, for the music.
Yes.
later, y'all.